Linux Mint 23 brings full Wayland support, but X11 isn't going anywhere. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Linux Mint has just announced one of the biggest changes in the project's history. After years of development, testing, and gradual improvements, the upcoming Linux Mint 23 will officially provide full support for Wayland. What's interesting, however, is that Linux Mint is taking a very different approach from many other Linux distributions. Instead of abandoning X11, the developers have decided to fully support both Wayland and X11 side by side. That means users won't be forced to switch before they're ready. So, let's take a closer look at what this means and why it's such an important milestone. First, Wayland is no longer experimental. For the past few releases, Linux Mint included an experimental Wayland session for Cinnamon. It allowed users to test the new display server, but it wasn't recommended for everyday use because several desktop features were still incomplete. According to Linux Mint project leader Clement Lefebvre, the team has spent months fixing bugs, improving compatibility, and polishing the overall experience. The developers now believe Wayland has reached a level where it feels stable enough for regular users. As a result, Cinnamon 6.8, which will ship with Linux Mint 23, will officially treat Wayland as a fully supported session rather than an experimental feature. That is a major achievement because Cinnamon has traditionally been one of the last major desktop environments to make the transition to Wayland. So, why is Wayland important? For anyone unfamiliar with the technology, Wayland is the modern replacement for the decades old X11 display server. While X11 has served Linux extremely well for many years, it was designed for hardware and workloads that are very different from today's computers. Wayland offers several advantages, including better security by isolating applications, smoother animations and reduced screen tearing, improved support for modern graphics hardware, better HiDPI scaling, lower latency for input devices, and a cleaner architecture that's easier to maintain in the future. Many desktop environments like GNOME and KDE Plasma have already made Wayland their primary display server. Linux Mint has chosen a slower, more cautious approach, focusing on stability before making the transition. So, what has improved? The Linux Mint developers have shared a long list of improvements that help move Wayland out of its experimental phase. One of the biggest upgrades is proper window management. New windows, context menus, and Cinnamon applets now appear in the correct position and at the correct size. Focus stealing prevention has also been implemented. This prevents another application from unexpected grabbing your keyboard or mouse input while you are working. Users with multiple monitors should also notice significant improvements. Display handling has become much more reliable, including better compatibility with KVM switches that many professionals use to control multiple computers. HiDPI support has also received major attention. Text, icons, cursors, and Chromium based applications now render much more cleanly on high resolution displays. Hardware acceleration has been expanded throughout the desktop. This includes the Cinnamon capacitor, Wayland applications, and even X-Wayland programs that still rely on X11 compatibility. Another welcome addition is native support for privileged applications. Programs launched using administrative privileges can now run directly as Wayland applications instead of falling back to X-Wayland. The desktop also now supports window progress, allowing applications like Nemo File Manager to display copy progress directly on the taskbar, similar to what many users expect from modern desktop operating systems. Beyond Wayland itself, Cinnamon also introduces a new command called cinnamon-list-windows, making it easier for developers and advanced users to inspect open windows and their properties. The desktop session also gains support for systemd graphics session feature, improving compatibility across different Linux distributions. But X11 is staying. Perhaps the most surprising announcement is what Linux Mint is not doing. Unlike several Linux distributions that have begun removing X11 from their default installations, Linux Mint has confirmed that X11 will continue to receive full support alongside Wayland. This reflects the project's long-standing philosophy of putting user choice and stability first. Many Linux users still depend on X11 because of older hardware, specialized software, remote desktop tools, graphics tablets, color calibration utilities, or workflows that haven't fully adapted to Wayland. Rather than forcing everyone onto a new technology overnight, Linux Mint is allowing users to choose whichever session best fits their needs. For many people, this balanced approach is exactly what has made Linux Mint one of the most popular beginner-friendly Linux distributions. So now, will Wayland become the default? At the moment, the answer is no, or at least not yet. Although Wayland is now fully supported, Linux Mint has not officially confirmed that it will become the default desktop session in Linux Mint 23. Project leader Clement Lefebvre has previously stated that making Wayland the default is something the team wants to achieve eventually, but only when they are completely satisfied with the user experience. So for now, users can expect both X11 and Wayland to coexist. So now, Linux Mint's new development strategy. Another major change is the project's release schedule. Starting with the Linux Mint 23, the development team is moving toward a longer development cycle. Instead of rushing new releases every few months, the developers want more time to build features, improve stability, perform additional testing, and reduce maintenance pressure. That extra development time appears to be paying off, especially with a complex project like bringing full Wayland support to Cinnamon. Linux Mint 23 is currently expected to arrive around the end of 2026 and will be based on Ubuntu 26.04 LTS, giving users another long-term supported release with several years of updates. Now, finally, my thoughts. In my opinion, Linux Mint is making the right decision. Rather than rushing to replace X11 simply because other distributions have done so, the developers waited until Wayland reached a level they were comfortably recommending. Keeping X11 available while offering a mature Wayland experience gives users maximum flexibility. If Wayland works perfectly on your hardware, you can enjoy its modern features and future improvements. If your workflow still depends on X11, you won't be forced to change overnight. This cautious, user-focused approach has always been one of the Linux Mint's biggest strengths. It may not generate the same headlines as more aggressive distributions, but it often results in a smoother and more reliable experience for everyday users. Overall, Linux Mint 23 is shaping up to be one of the biggest releases in the project's history, and fully Wayland support is undoubtedly one of its headline features. So, what do you think about Linux Mint's decision to fully support both Wayland and X11? Would you switch to Wayland today, or are you planning to stay with X11 for a little longer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss future Linux news, tutorials, and reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.